Hey, how y'all doing? This is Mongo Slade, and today we're going to talk about Big E, his first night as Intercontinental Champion. So he was set up with a non-title match against King Corbin, which, okay, I was cool with that. I kind of saw King Corbin. King Corbin is a guy who's probably never going to win a mid-card title. You know, he's in the too big for the mid-card range. I know some people may say, well, what the hell does that mean? It's, you know, I've said it before, you don't really... I think Corbin is 6'5", 6'6". He's too big to be mid-card champion. You know, I know he was U.S. champion. That kind of what kept him in this role forever. You know, he needs to be either in the main event or near the top of the card because of his size. Even if you don't think he's a main event player. The one thing Bruce Mitchell had right in his whole fucking article about Luke Harper, about Brody Lee, was that guys that size cannot function in the mid-card. They are absolutely terrible mid-carders. That's why I said before that you can't make fucking Undertaker the Intercontinental Champion. You can't do it. It doesn't make any sense. He's too big. So Corbin is one of those guys I really don't see him as... He's not, of course, the big supernatural character like Undertaker, but he's certainly too big to be the Intercontinental Champion. Hell, Big E almost too big to be the Intercontinental Champion. At this point, you're looking at a guy so Corbin is, because he's too big, he hasn't done anything since his feud with Roman ended. So we're dealing with a situation where he's kind of floundering. He hasn't really been doing much. So this has been a good idea. This is a good idea to put him in this match. It's a good test for Big E. Corbin is a guy who, you know, they could play like he's a threat for the Intercontinental title. He's never actually going to win it though. So they had the match. Match was pretty standard. Sami Zayn was on commentary, you know, talking about how Big E isn't ready for the responsibility of being the Intercontinental Champion, of representing all of the countries in the world. And Big E hits the big ending on Baron Corbin. He's lucky about to beat him clean. And then Sami Zayn interferes, and the Knights of the Lone Wolf interfere, and it's 3-on-1. They're beating this guy up, and then my heart went aflutter because Apollo Crews runs to the ring. And I was like, somebody is making a save in WWE in the year of our Lord 2021. It's a new day. Yes, it is. It is a new day. Yes, it is. We're making saves now. Unfortunately, we kind of fall right into the old trap. Apollo Crews beats up all of the heels, as he's supposed to. He's a fiery babyface. He comes in, beats up everybody. He bumps them, throws them out of the ring. He literally bench press Sami Zayn and throw him out of the ring. Great job. So then we come back from commercial. It's a tag team match, which of course it is. We can't just end the segment like that, which would have been better. I would have preferred, you know, since Sami Zayn didn't wrestle, right? That it'd be Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens. Not Kevin Owens, but Sami Zayn versus Apollo Crews, right? That way, you don't get this stupid tag team match. Because this tag team match is kind of like, so unnecessary. It's real unnecessary. But they had the tag team match anyway. Big E and Apollo Crews versus King Corbin and Sami Zayn. At some point in the match, Zayn begins to argue with Corbin. Corbin's yelling at Corbin that, you know, him and his boys need to listen to him. Corbin is like, what? And decides he's going to take a walk. Sami Zayn's like, well, I don't need you guys anyway. Promptly loses to Apollo Crews. So, okay, that's fine. I'm not mad at that. Sami Zayn, I don't know what you do with him because Roman is such a strong heel. What do you really do with other mid-card heels? Other than just feed them to other guys. You can't really keep Sami Zayn strong. I don't know what else. You know, I'm not saying take him out of the picture. He's not going to be out of the picture, obviously. But something needs to be done because he's in a weird place where there needs to be somewhere for him to go. Maybe the tag team ranks would be fine for a little while. But who would his partner be? You know, and what kind of situation would that be? I could, you know, that could be a nice little... The tag team ranks is always a good place to put a guy temporarily. If you don't know what to do with him, he's kind of floating. That's why I don't understand why the tag team division is so shit in WWE. It's a great place to park a guy until you got a space for him. You know, it's a great place to put somebody, 2, 3, 4 guys, 6 guys, 8 guys. if you're confused about what to do with them, it was great to just team them up with somebody else, even if it's temporary, just to give them something to do for a little while. It's a great idea. You know, always good to get more people on screen. All right, so Big E and Apollo are in the back celebrating their victory. And then, you know, Kyla Braxton, you know, she comes over and she's asking Big E and Apollo about, oh, well, you know, what's going on and how are you guys and all this stuff. And Big E cuts this promo, right? And this promo is filled with Brody Lee references. You know, talks about, you know, he's had little Nolans and Amandas from Rome to Rochester, fans of the, you know, Maple Leafs, Toronto Maple Leafs, you know, cheering him on. All of this stuff is, you know, Brody Lee. Brody Lee has a son named Nolan. His wife is named Amanda. His favorite team is the Toronto Maple Leafs. This stuff was all over Twitter. That's how I know it. Because everybody has become a professor in Brody Lee over the last couple of days except me. I was actually, matter of fact, let's pause right here. I was actually deeply surprised. WWE didn't even play the clip that they made on Smackdown. They just released it on Twitter. Okay. You know, I kind of figured they weren't going to do much on Smackdown, but this was a nice little tribute in its own. You know, Big E kind of did some of Brody Lee's moves in his match, and he cut this promo, which, you know, referenced him a lot. So these references do keep people alive without, you know, running the flow of the show and changing the format of the show. So that was pretty nice. It was very nice. So then he says that much like, you know, some team, I think he said the Toronto Maple Leafs or something like that, that he's going to be a fighting champion and that next week he's going to issue an open challenge. And Apollo Crews immediately takes him up on that open challenge. Immediately. And then says, you know, hey, you know, I'm kind of the reason you won the title, but you might not be so lucky next week. And they kind of had a short, tense moment, and then they both laughed. And they had these, you know, these kind of fake laughs going on here where, you know, it's like, ha, 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 yeah, that was funny, but, you know, you just challenged me to a fight. Like, but I like it. You know, they want to have this friendly match, but they're doing something different with Apollo Crews. I like that. They set up Apollo Crews in a situation where he came out to save Big E. He helped Big E win the title. That is legit true. You know, he's the one who caught Sami Zayn, and Sami Zayn tried to run away. He also came out and saved Big E. And, you know, he's also the one who pinned Sami Zayn to win the match. So they've been doing some interesting things with Apollo Crews these last 2 weeks. So he obviously is not going to win the title. But what can we do other than Big E just plain pins him, which needs to happen? You need to establish Big E in this division. It needs to be more established as a solo act. Therefore, they need to have a solid match, 10, 15 minutes, and Apollo Crews just does the job. But you could try to cover it up by having Sami Zayn interfere. You know, Sami Zayn distracts him. No, let's take that back. I don't want to see a distraction finish. Maybe maybe post-match, after Apollo Crews loses, Sami Zayn attacks Apollo Crews, beats him up, maybe gives him the running boot, knocks him down, you know, sets back up for Sami Zayn to be another contender, put some more heat on Zayn because he has been, you know, taking L's. And maybe you kind of build up that rematch, that Zayn Big E rematch, and make it some kind of a gimmick. You know, there's been so many ladder matches lately, I wouldn't go that route. There's also been a cage match recently. I wouldn't go that route either. I'm not really sure where you can go with it. But I think that giving Apollo this spotlight, good. Having Apollo just plain lose, acceptable. You know, compared to we're going to try to trying to overprotect people who aren't the champion. You know, I think you've done a good job of making Apollo look credible by having him almost beat the champion. That's good, but the champion needs to just win. And after that, you start trying to look at heating up somebody. Now, theoretically, the best thing to do would be to turn Apollo Crews. That would be the best thing to do. He needs to turn heel. He needs to do something. He needs to do something different. And you know what might actually be sweet? If they can have Sami Zayn manage Apollo Crews. That would be badass. That would be awesome. Why can't we do that? We can do that, right? We can have Sami Zayn be the mouthpiece for Apollo Crews, like he was the mouthpiece for Cesaro and Nakamura for a short time, right? Just have him be the mouthpiece for Apollo Crews. Apollo Crews it fits his great liberator gimmick. I don't know if that thing is still going on or not, but I believe it is. But it fits. You know, Apollo Crews is an underappreciated talent. He's a former United States champion. He had a good run with that belt. So we know he's got the pedigree to be a solid champion. He just needs character. He needs flash. He needs personality. He needs some sizzle with that steak. And I think Sami Zayn is not quite sizzle, but it's something different. He needs a different presentation. And I think this could do it. I think that they should turn Apollo Crews heel. Not turn him heel and he win this match. I don't want that. But he needs to turn heel. And I think that would be very interesting. Now, I think that, you know, if you turn him heel, you're limited his options again because you're going to have Roman at the top. Not like Apollo Crews is going to the top anyway, but there's only so far you can go when you have a top heel in the company. And there's only one other title, you know. But then I just said that, you know, tag team titles might be open. You know, Street Profits they're kind of still dealing with Rude and Ziggler because they're literally the only other team. And since I'm not making a video about them, I like the name Dirty Dogs, by the way. I like that. You know, it seems like they're actually going to lean in heavy with this team thing. I just wish it hadn't been wrestling as a tag team for like a year already. You know, like they've been a tag team for like 8 months already. And now they just now have a team name. It's like, whatever. But I actually like the idea. Have Apollo Crews turn heel. And then he challenges Big E for the title a couple of times, loses, and then him and Zayn go into the tag team ranks. That'd be fine. That's perfect. Then Big E can wrestle somebody else. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. What do you guys think of Big E, Apollo Crews, Sami Zayn, and all this stuff? Will King Corbin be coming back? I think he might be. I think he might be, you know, one of those good gatekeepers like Sheamus, you know, where he's just a guy that you have to kind of beat him if you're going to solidify yourself as a mid to upper mid card guy. You kind of have to go through King Corbin. And I think that's solid. You know, it's a pretty solid gig if you can get it. It's not a bad position to be in unless you're fucking Kane or something. But it's not a bad spot. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to this channel. I love you guys. I thank you guys, and I'll talk to you guys later.